So we have a spaceship model. That's a very simple model that was done. Sorry, that was built using the same technique as we did with the rocks. Just simple pushing and pulling. I started this model from a sphere and I deformed it with the help of even lattice, the animation tab, lattice deformers, and then Maya's sculpting brushes. So as you can see, it's a very simple model. There's no detail on it, but add we'll add detail in Substance Painter, because instead of Photoshop, I think we should also have a go at Substance Painter. Uh, the only thing that's missing right now is the unwrapping. So I'll do a very quick unwrap. The same way that we unwrap the rocks, since it's such a simple model. So I'll just do a camera based. And start grabbing some edges. And get rid of these areas. Just trying to find seams where we can unwrap our model more efficiently. And if we have a UV toolkit, and go to create, not create, sorry, cut it to create a cut. So that's our seam. And let's find if we can find any other places. I might also chop off this area, because this might give us some distortions, and also in the bottom area. We'll cut it. And one last from let's unwrap this and see what it gives us. And go to unfold. Let's optimize it, and then unfold. Let's have a look with the texture in it. So I think, yeah, it's not too bad, because I mean, I can go ahead and create more seam lines. I think I might. Yeah, and I'll also be taking out this area, because I want to add. Sorry. I want to add a bit more detail in the middle portion of the ship. So I'll cut this. And I'll unfold it. Let's move it out and do the same again for this guy. Unfold it and see the texture. Okay. And let me go ahead and create another edge loop. To cut from this area and create a cut. So now our texture space is getting even better. So for the top areas now, let's select these two, optimize unfold, and then I can grab all the UVs and go to layout, and it lays out for us. So I'll just try to manually scale the textures a bit more better. So that's a middle portion. I might need a bit more texture space for this guy because I want a bit more detail over here. And for top portions, oh, that was a mistake. So that's fine, and we can put it somewhere over here, because I think the layout of the shot, these guys, they won't be visible. And I think the unwrapping for this ship is done. So let's go ahead and let's create a project first. This will be our look dev for the ship. Let's go to Maya. Season 6, call this Maya folder. Alien ship look dev. Accept, and let's set a project. Yeah, I think it's eating into the other UV areas, so let me just try to fit everything in there. So yeah, I think that's good enough for our layout. Let's send that, let's export the ship as an OBJ, alien ship export OBJ, export selection, let's save a scene. So now here in Substance Painter, I'll go ahead and create a new project by bringing the. Uh, we don't have to set this because we can always change our export type in during exporting of the texture. So for that, let's just first import our mesh. This won't be an in-depth substance tutorial because we have a long way to go. So I'll try to explain what I'm doing, but this will be a quick texturing for the shape because it won't be so high detail, but it'll be okay enough for our composite shot. So let's import our OBJ document. Let's work with 2K for now, and then while exporting, we'll export it as 4K, and then let's export, or sorry, import. So that's a ship. You can hold shift and right click drag to change the lighting orientation. And tab to go to a full screen view. This is our UV space. We can paint here or here. And these are our materials and all the other tools that we have, brush and all the other normal environments. And over here we have the layers and property editors. So first things first, Substance Painter gives us a very good tool that we can bake out uh, ambient occlusion, normal maps, curvature maps. So it's a very good starting point for texturing. So if you go to your texture set settings and bake mesh maps, and it'll give you normal and ID, ambient, curvature, precision, thickness. So we don't need, I'm only gonna need normal because we don't have any details on my ship. I don't think we're gonna need ambient occlusion. We need curvature, precision, thickness. Yeah, we can keep that. And output, we'll output it to 4K because I have a pretty decent computer, so it shouldn't take too long. And we're gonna bake the textures. So our materials are, sorry, our textures are baked. We can take a look at that if you go to your textures over here. So you can see we have our curvature. We have our, if I can see, we have the thickness. We have the normal map. We don't have anything there yet, but so any material or masks that needs a curvature or thickness maps for applying textures, it's gonna use that. So let's go to our layers, delete the first layer, the default layer, and I'm gonna add a fill layer. And in the fill layer, I'm gonna add. If I go to my materials, and I know what kind of look I want for the ship. It's like a very dark and highly specular kind of spaceship, alien spaceship. So I, I, I looked around and I really like the look of this artificial leather. So I'll grab that and just put it, drag and drop it on my materials mode on my fill layer. And if I maximize that, so the artificial leather material gives us a very nice specular's broken and a little bit of denting on my spaceship. So I really like the look of this leather, even though it's not a like metally look, but I like the look of the ship with this texture or this material. And yeah, I like to have a normal map. So you select what stuff you want, like if you want the color, the metalness, the roughness, the normalness, or the height. Height is the displacement. So for the base color, I want it to be really a dark spaceship. Let's call this base color. And there are over here there are some options that you can play with, but I found that by default I really like the color and the details on it. So I mean, you can go ahead and try playing with all these settings. Like this keeps it more reflective. That's more non-glossy, but let's keep it somewhere over here 755. And now then I also want a layer that's that's below the base layer, not below, but it'll be on top, but we'll mask it to make it look like it's underneath the actual paint layer. So let me make another another fill layer, and we'll apply we won't apply, we'll go back to our material browser, and there is this material, I think it was called plastic matte. Yeah, the plastic matte pure. I'm just going to drag and drop it over here again. Actually, I'll just drag and drop it on my base color. Oh no, material, sorry. So now we're gonna mask that with we're gonna add a black mask, just like Photoshop, and then right click and add a generator. So right now the plastic layer is hidden because we applied a black mask. So a generator is like it's like a, it's like an algorithm that for masking. Like it uses your curvature and thickness and other maps to create like dirt, scratch and all. So I'll just go ahead and pick the substance painter. They give you a few of them, but I think I'll go with the material edgeware. And you see, it gives us such this kind of effect. But before that, if I go back to my layer, if I tab I go to full screen, and then when you go full screen, then over here you have all your options. So I'll go back to my layers, and instead of the blue color, I want this to be an orangey, yellowish orangey. Like that. And I want the normal in the height map, yes. If it gives us yeah, you see the height gives us this kind of effect of displacement, which we can take it into Maya and put it to our displacement map. So let's go for a little bit subtle. Let's play with the values, see what I can find. Some sweet spot. Roughness, yeah, a little bit glossy. For the height, instead of this, I'll just go ahead and go to my height color and do let's try some kind of noise pattern. You have to play around to see what you get. Do it for maybe the height is too much. Oh, you know what? I'll just go ahead and use the slider to just add some little bit of detail. Yeah, and this is right now we're viewing at 2K resolution. So if it's 4K, then the detail will be much better. So we want the yellow portion to go down. Yeah. And I'll go ahead and play with the mask a little bit. Oh, so it was my generator, yes. Let's try some options here. And if you play with the sliders, you get really really cool effects. And I really like this yellow line going over the top. It's like yellow scratch, but actually it's like a layer of paint over the rocky ship. Let's see what else I can do. No, that's inverted all the way. Let's try random seed. I'm trying to get rid of these this triangle that gives you some sort of shape that I don't like. Oh, macronormal, yeah, why not? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Someone was on the door. Okay. I guess for the detail, I think if we look at that in 4K, this should look much better. So let's say this is done for our texture, or not done for texture, for the dirt layer or the paint layer. And let's see what else I can do here a little bit. Yeah, I think that's much better. Okay, so now I can go ahead and create a. So I want this spaceship to have like alien kind of feel to it. So I want some science, like sci-fi lines going around the ship. For that, what we can do is I can go ahead and create a new layer. Let's call this paint layer, and this will be our, let's say, lines. So let's go back to small view, and in the lines, I don't want the color, and I don't want let's say I just don't want the color, and let me go ahead and apply a material to it. Let's see what I can find. Steel rust is fine. I can just go ahead and drag and drop, and then with the help of this cool little particles, and then if I select the fracture, let's set my size. So if I click and drag, it creates these lines. So it's a bit thick. I'll just put it down a little bit more and check again, just to give us some detail for a spaceship. And for some reason I should be getting the height. If I go and try to check, no color. Oh, that's weird. I'm not getting the height for the brush. Let's check again. Oh, why am I not getting the height? I mean the normal information. Let me just check again. I'll just check and come back. Yeah, okay, so I figured it out. I didn't really have to go to the material mode. Instead, I can go to my layers and just go to our the shader and go down to our height. Height is gonna decide our the height of our lines. So let's see if I have it to like positive 0.15, then if I drag, so this gives us this line, this sci-fi detail on a ship. If I go back down, it gives us ones that's those are going in. So I think I really like the one that's those that are going in. So what I'll do, I'll try to reduce the brush size and then do a test. And let's increase the flow. Let's say I want a little bit more. So I think I'm happy with this this much height or the detail, the dent on the ship. This is 2K. We are previewing it this at 2K. So in 4K, this should look fine. Now I'd like to add one more detail on our ship, and that'll be right below the lines. We'll add a layer. This will be our center portion. So if you press F6, you go to orthographic view. F5 is perspective view. So I'll go to my orthographic and press Alt and Shift and drag, so that locks our view. So F5, F6, so that's our orthographic. And then let's go back to a small view. Let's go to our um, let's go over to a stencil. Let me just first change my brush, and go to color, no height, no normal, no roughness or metal, and then go to my stencil and select I have one that I've already looked at, and that is coffee cup. It's a coffee cup. So let's scale this guy. We're using this as a stencil. And let's change the color to an orangey yellow. Yeah, that's okay. And let's start painting or stenciling. So in this perspective view, that looks very big. So what I'll do is I'll try to make it a bit smaller. And erase what's not needed. Let's go to my perspective view. I think that's fine. And let's go to orthography again. And this time, instead of this stencil, let's use a brush alpha with the same process. We'll use the coffee projection, put it there, and increase the size. Okay, I need to I need to select the brush, not the eraser. Oh. And select this guy as the alpha, and no stencil. Close the stencil. So see, you can now paint. So I'll just increase the size a little. 20, yeah. Or you can press twice to make it a bit brighter. And go to my perspective view. So I think that's good enough. Let's see what else I can do here. Let's go to my orthographic. And now let me add one final detail, another layer. That will be our dents or detail. So on this layer, go to perspective view and turn on mirroring or the symmetry. So what we do one side is copy it over to the other side. Over here, what I'm gonna do is take out the alpha and the color. Let's say we use normal height and rough, okay, and then go to our hard surfaces and select any one of this alpha. So what I'll do is I'll go to my normal map and drag and drop this guy. So when you paint this, now you're like painting the normals. Or sorry, or you can get rid of that and put that in your height map or your displacement map, and that gives you this. So what I'll do is I'll just apply that on my normal map instead. Let's see which one will look much better if I select one and drag it. Let's say I go for this guy, drop the size, maybe right near. And another towards the bottom with a different shape. Let's try vent cross. Oh yeah, and I should really be saving my project. Texturing spaceship tutorial lesson 6. Yeah, I think for this one I'll be adding the height map also. So that's a good way of getting some details. Let me just see what I can do here. Maybe decrease the size just a little. Oh yeah, you don't want that. F6. I think one of them is fine, and let's say I can go ahead and add some kind of bolt. That's very low res. Let's see what I can get with a bigger size right on top of this guy. Yeah, the pattern looks really repetitive, but as long as we have some detail, I don't think anyone's gonna notice. And one last here. Yeah, I'm not using a Wacom tablet or something because I don't have one right now. So I think for detail, that should be good enough. And now to test our texture, what I can do is let's go to rendering iRay, and over there we can take a look at the texture of a model. And let's change the environment. Or maybe an overcast. Okay, the studio lighting is a good one. And by looking at it, I think the details on our spaceship is pretty okay. And then let's prepare for exporting our textures. So let's say this is a texture done. Let's go ahead and file, export textures, and go and set our project where we will be exporting it to. That's our project. Lesson 6, Maya source images. And let's create a new folder called substance painter textures. So let's select that. Okay, for exporting it to Redshift, as per the guidelines given by the substance guys, it should be it should be like, I'm working with the metalness and the roughness workflow that I have saved right shift my export this one. So you might not have this, or you might have this, but let's say you don't have that. So what we can do is, let me just duplicate this. Let's create from the beginning, and let's name it tut red shift to Maya metal rough. Okay, so let's get rid of all of these. And then go to our go grab a RGB map, and let's rename it to mesh, and texture set, we'll call this diffuse. For a diffuse, we'll drag the base color from the input maps to RGB channels, and then we're gonna grab an RGB plus alpha. That will be our normal map, texture set, normals. And for the normals, we'll grab the normal OpenGL from converted maps to RGB channels, and then the same for the alpha gray channel. And the next, we'll create the roughness. Let's get a gray, because roughness and specular, all this stuff, they are all grayscale. So let's get this to be texture set, roughness, and we'll grab the roughness, if I can find here the roughness, yes, to the gray channel. And the next one is the metallic, so let's grab another grayscale, change it to mesh. Is the naming convention of substance. Texture set, call it metallic, and we grab the metallic property, gray channel. And then the last one is the height. For the height, I think we'll grab RGBA. Yes, RGBA. I mean, that works for me, but probably it'll work with the gray channel also. Height, and then we go ahead and grab the height from. Okay, was it here? Let me check my notes. Yes, we grab the height and plug it in there, gray channel, and the same for the alpha. And we don't have any emissive texture, so I'm not worried about that. So let's go ahead and select our configuration. That was touch my metal rough, and let's export as PNG. We'll be exporting it twice because for the height, we need a 16 bits or 32 bit floating color um, file for our height map to work properly in Maya in Redshift. So for the initial pass, let's go ahead and let's check our path. So that's fine, and then we can go ahead and select the output format. So that's 4K, and then we're gonna export. Okay, so we have our texture exported. Let's go and check Maya source images, Substance Painter. So all our textures are exported. So this is the diffuse, height, metallic. There's no metallic in our material, but it's okay. Normals, roughness. So let's delete our height map and create a new temp folder. Well, we'll export the textures again, where we will extract the height map. For that, let's change it to TIFF. Change it to 32-bit floating, and then let's go ahead and export again. Everything's fine. Yeah, export. Well, I'll have to cancel that because I did not change the folder. So I'll have to go ahead and do it again with the same settings, 8-bit, and do the stuff again. So I'll be right back. So I went ahead and redid the export. So let's change our temporary folder where we will extract our height map, and let's change it to TIFF 32-bit floating, and let's export again. And let's get our height, which is now properly, which has the proper image data. It's pretty big, so let's delete all these guys. Okay, what happened there? I just need the height. Yes, paste it here and delete the temp folder. So we have our height map. If it opens, there is some detail going on, but I'll have to change the gamma and look at it. So let's meet up in the next class where we will import our textures and prepare a look dev scene.